The movie The Crow, directed by Alex Proyas and based on the comic book of the same name by James O'Barr, tells the dark, gothic story of Eric Draven, played by Brandon Lee, a musician who returns from the dead to avenge his own murder and the brutal rape and death of his fiancée, Shelly Webster, Sofia Shinas. Set in a rainy, dystopian Detroit, the film is a poetic and haunting exploration of love, loss, revenge, and redemption, all set to a backdrop of moody visuals and a stellar soundtrack. Opening scene, Devil's Night. The film begins on a somber note, introducing the audience to Devil's Night, the night before Halloween in Detroit, notorious for arson and violent crimes. The city is in chaos, shrouded in a perpetual night illuminated by burning buildings. The camera pans across a dilapidated apartment, where police are investigating a horrific crime scene. The story unfolds through the eyes of Sergeant Albrecht, Ernie Hudson, a weary police officer. We learn that Eric Draven and his fiancée Shelly were violently attacked by a gang led by the sadistic top dollar, Michael Wincott. Eric was thrown out of the window to his death, while Shelly was brutally assaulted and left to die in the hospital. The scene is tragic and gritty, immediately immersing the audience in the film's heavy atmosphere. To create a detailed 1-hour-long recap of the 1994 cult classic The Crow, I'll break down the story scene by scene, describe character development, and highlight important dialogues and action sequences that contribute to the overall arc. Since the recap needs to span a full hour, content will be expanded upon, incorporating emotional and thematic elements that connect with the audience. Introduction. The Crow, 1994. The scene is tragic and gritty, immediately immersing the audience in the film's heavy atmosphere. The resurrection of Eric Draven. 1 year later, on the anniversary of the murders, a mysterious crow appears at Eric's grave, symbolizing his resurrection. This crow, mystical in nature, acts as both Eric's guide and his spiritual connection to the afterlife. As the bird lands on his tombstone, Eric emerges from the ground, dazed and confused, not fully understanding what has brought him back to life. The resurrection sequence is beautifully haunting, using slow motion and eerie lighting to convey the supernatural nature of Eric's return. He stumbles back to the apartment he once shared with Shelly, where he relives the trauma of their final moments together. This scene sets the stage for Eric's motivation for revenge. The memories of Shelly's cries for help flood his mind. The transformation. After experiencing flashbacks of his brutal murder and Shelly's suffering, Eric undergoes a transformation. In a cathartic moment, he wipes off the dirt and grime from his face and, using makeup and soot, paints his face in the iconic white mask with black eyes and lips, resembling a harlequin or tragic clown. The physical transformation mirrors his emotional one. Eric is no longer a man, but a vengeful spirit bound by love and pain. The scene is interspersed with memories of Shelly, highlighting the love they shared. This underscores the depth of Eric's sorrow and how that love fuels his desire for vengeance. The choice of the makeup becomes a significant symbol throughout the movie, representing both death and rebirth. The music, a mixture of gothic rock and orchestral pieces, amplifies the emotional weight of this transformation. The revenge begins. Tintin. Eric's first target is Tintin, Lawrence Mason, one of the gang members responsible for Shelly's death. Tintin is a sadistic thug, known for his knife skills, and is seen terrorizing the streets of Detroit. Eric tracks him down to a dingy alley, where the confrontation unfolds with brutal intensity. In this scene, we see Eric's supernatural abilities for the first time. His agility, strength, and invulnerability. The crow acts as his eyes, guiding him toward his enemies. Tintin, overconfident in his abilities, taunts Eric. But he quickly realizes he is no match for the undead Avenger. Eric throws back Tintin's own words at him, "Victims, aren't we all?" before using Tintin's knives to pin him to the wall, killing him. This scene sets the tone for the rest of Eric's mission. Each encounter is not just about physical revenge, but about making the perpetrators confront the horror of their action. Sergeant Albrecht's involvement. Sergeant Albrecht becomes a key supporting character throughout Eric's journey. After Eric's resurrection, he confronts Albrecht, who had been at the scene of Shelly's death and visited her in the hospital during her final hours. The two form an unlikely bond, as Albrecht is one of the few characters who understands the gravity of what Eric is doing. In a touching moment, Eric touches Albrecht and absorbs his memories of Shelly's last moments. This scene is poignant, showing that while Eric's mission is fueled by revenge, it's also deeply connected to his grief and his unresolved love for Shelly. Albrecht serves as a moral compass, often questioning the violent path Eric is on. Their conversations offer a bit of levity and humanity in a film otherwise dominated by darkness. Confrontation with Funboy. Eric's next target is Funboy Michael Massey, a drug-addicted gang member. Eric finds Funboy in the company of Darla, Anna Levine, troubled woman and the mother of Sarah, Rochelle Davis, a young girl who had been close to Eric and Shelly before their deaths. The interaction between Eric and Funboy is both darkly humorous and chilling. Funboy is intoxicated and dismissive of Eric's abilities, only to be horrified when Eric easily heals from a gunshot wound. Eric toys with Funboy before delivering his judgment, using morphine needles to kill him in an ironic twist of fate. This scene also serves to redeem Darla. Eric tells her to go home to her daughter and, through a touch, he purges her body of the drugs, giving her a second chance. This subplot, while minor, adds emotional depth to the film, illustrating that not everyone in the movie is beyond redemption. Top Dollar, the mastermind. The film introduces Top Dollar, the villainous mastermind behind the criminal activities in Detroit. Played with sinister charm by Michael Wincott, Top Dollar is a gothic crime lord who thrives on chaos and destruction. He's involved in various illegal dealings from drugs to arson and holds an almost philosophical belief in the necessity of violence. As Eric continues to eliminate the members of his gang, Top Dollar becomes increasingly concerned. His relationship with Micah, Bai Ling, a mysterious and sadistic woman, adds to his dark aura. Together, they begin to sense that Eric is not an ordinary man seeking revenge, but a force driven by something supernatural. The emotional core, Sarah and Shelly. Throughout the film, Sarah, a young girl who had a close relationship with Eric and Shelly, serves as the emotional core of the story. Sarah is one of the few people who still mourns the loss of Eric and Shelly. She represents innocence and serves as a reminder of the life Eric could have had. Sarah's interactions with Eric show a more human side of the character. Though Eric is consumed by his quest for vengeance, his love for Shelly and his connection to Sarah keep him grounded. In one particularly emotional scene, Eric visits Shelly's grave and laments that they never got the chance to live their lives together. Climactic battle at the church. The film's climax takes place in an abandoned church, where Eric confronts Top Dollar and his gang. The gothic imagery of the setting enhances the dark and tragic tone of the movie. In a thrilling action sequence, Eric dispatches several of Top Dollar's henchmen before facing the villain himself. During the confrontation, Top Dollar reveals that he was personally involved in ordering the attack on Shelly and Eric, which deepens the emotional stakes of the battle. The two engage in a brutal fight atop the church's bell tower, and in the end, Eric uses the pain and memories of Shelly's death to overwhelm Top Dollar, who falls to his death. The resolution, love and peace. After Top Dollar's death, Eric's mission is complete. He returns to Shelly's grave, where he finally finds peace. In a touching final scene, the crow, which has been guiding Eric throughout his journey, lands on his tombstone, symbolizing the end of his quest. Film closes with Sarah visiting Eric's grave, reaffirming the bond they shared and the impact he had on her life. As Eric reunites with Shelly in the afterlife, the movie leaves the audience with a sense of closure, but also with a poignant reminder of the tragedy of their love story. The legacy of The Crow. The Crow is remembered not only for its gothic aesthetic and tragic love story, but also for the real-life tragedy surrounding the death of Brandon Lee, who was killed during the making of the film. This event added an eerie, almost mythic layer to the movie, cementing its place in cinematic history. The film's themes of love, loss, and vengeance resonate deeply with audiences. Its stylish blend of action and emotion has made it a cult classic. The Crow is not just a story of revenge. It's a story of the enduring power of love and the possibility of redemption, even in the darkest,